Today we are going to compare two cameras. A lot of people don't realize that the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 6K, it's also a photo camera.
Yeah, to some degree. It's got a secret. And we're going to show you what that secret is, and we're going to compare it to another camera, the Canon 1D C. And the reason we're going to use the 1D C is because, like the Pocket 6K Pro, it's a cinema camera with full-on photo features. Now, the Blackmagic camera does not have quite the same list of full-on photo features that the 1D C does. But it does have a super secret little button that no one talks about and fewer people notice. And when you press that button, you get a raw photo.
So, should be interesting, huh?
I think it should be interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of different kinds of photos, and we're going to start with a portrait. Denise here is going to be our lovely model for the day. How do you feel about being our lovely model for the day, honey?
That's very sweet of you.
And we're trying to make this video be a little bit biased in favor of the Blackmagic camera in one respect, at least to start with, because it's midday. We have some white snow still on the ground. It's late winter. And we also have a fairly bright, although partially overcast sky, but it's fairly bright out. So that lends itself to the possibility that maybe it would be nice to have an ND filter, because if you want to shoot wide open, maybe an ND filter might be a good option to have to be able to shoot wide open without having to use some crazy shutter speeds or close down your aperture. Of course, you can use those shutter speeds if you need to, and we will need to on the 1D C. But we have built-in ND filters on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro because it's a cinema camera with built-in NDs. And so how does that work for photography? We're about to find out. And just so for lensing, this is a Super 35 sensor, and the 1D C is a full frame sensor. They are not the same, obviously. So in order to compensate for that, we're using a 35mm f2.0 lens on the Blackmagic, and we use a 50mm Sigma 1.4 art lens on the 1D C. And that should give us approximately a similar field of view when we shoot with them. And we'll shoot them both at f2. That's the maximum aperture on this lens, so we'll use f2 across both of them. So let's start with the portrait now. So I'm going to set this to f2.0. That's that. And then I'm going to get focus on Denise here. And I'm using 1/60th of a second, and I'm showing a little bit of an overexposure, so I'm going to give myself one of the NDs, and that looks really nice. So this is 4 stops of ND on the built-in NDs, and so I'm going to just take a picture. Okay, you can move a little bit here. I'm going to take another picture. Just keep moving. I'm going to get another focus on you, so stay there. Another pose. So using the Blackmagic Pocket 6K for photos is very easy to do. It's just got the single button to release the shutter, an electronic shutter, and it works really well. Now I've got it on what is a decent tripod, the Slick Pro 700DX. The legs have been very sturdy. We've used this tripod for quite a long time. But we have a slick video head on it, and the slick video head has its good features for video. It's fairly smooth and it's very inexpensive for the smoothness that you get from it when you're panning and tilting. But it's not particularly stable. There's some flex in this head, and when you press the shutter button on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, which it's a little bit stiff, and it introduces a little bit of flex while you're pressing the button. Now I'm using image stabilization on this lens, so I'm hoping that will take that out, along with the shutter speed being 1/60th, which isn't the fastest, but hopefully is fast enough. So hopefully we don't have any motion blur because of the crappiness, legitimate crappiness of this tripod head for this purpose. But we'll see. So let's go switch to the 1D C and take the same photos and see how they turn out. Alright, and now I have the Canon 1D C. This is a cinema camera version of the Canon 1DX. Canon's top of the line camera from 2012, I believe. Very expensive when it was released, controversially so. And I'm using the Sigma 50mm Art f1.4 lens. We'll set that to f2, and we should have approximately the same field of view as the 35mm on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. Set up here. So I'm at f2. Okay, now you can pose. So here we go. So we're at f2, 1/320th. Okay, we can just keep posing now. Is it easier to be a model when you can hear the shutter sound? Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Because I think that's actually a factor.
Yeah, I do think so.
So that's something to think about. You know, my eyes are watering because it's cold out here.
Because I know when your next shot is coming, so yeah, when I can, pose.
Yep. Gotta get those action shots, honey.
I know. Oh, one more. Gotta kiss ya.
Okay.
Love ya.
Love you too, hon. Alright, so that is some of the shots with the 1D C. I'd actually have to say that actually shooting with the 1D C is a lot more satisfying because you get that feedback that something happened when you press the button. Yeah. So we'll see what these look like. Mm-hmm. And just so everyone knows, I did expose so-called ETTR. I exposed to the right on the 1D C, which means I gave it about 1/3 of a stop of overexposure. I'm shooting manual, but I overexposed it just a little bit because Canon cameras of this era tend to hold the highlight detail a little better than shadow detail, and so I can bring that exposure down in post just a little bit, keep the blacks looking good in theory, and everything should turn out nice. So in theory, we'll see.
So it'll be interesting to find out what they look like.
Yep.
Okay, for the setup for these images, both cameras were set as close to the same settings as possible from the point of view of color profiles and white balance and things of that sort. No post-processing was really done on these images. They are mostly straight out of camera. I can't say that there was no post-processing done because I did adjust the exposure just a bit, primarily on the 1D C, as I exposed a little bit to the right, as I said in the video, and so I brought that exposure down a little bit in post. So it was about 1/3 of the stop. And there was no color adjustments made to any of these images. They're just straight out of camera from the point of view of the color. And so you can see what they look like here. Denise, what do you think of the output from these cameras?
So I like the Canon EOS-1D C. I like how vibrant the colors are compared to the Blackmagic. I think the Blackmagic is a little bit too warm. However, that being said, the Canon 1D C is a little bit overblown on my hat there. And then I like the Canon 1D C. I like how the background has that creamy blur. Of course, that is going to look better, I believe, for portraits.
Yeah, and so I think with the blur, the background blur, probably mostly attributable to the fact that the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K Pro has a Super 35 sensor. That's about a 1.5 crop from the full frame in the 1D C, and I think that probably accounts for that background blur difference because both lenses were shot at f2. The lens on the 1D C was the Sigma 50mm f1.4 Art, and that is a nice lens from the point of view of how it renders out of focus elements. And the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 6K Pro, ideally I would have had a 35mm f1.4 Art from Sigma, so we had brand comparisons there. But that was the 35mm f2 IS lens from Canon, and that was set at f2, so there should be some background blur, and I think there's a little bit, but it does render the background with a lot more detail than the 1D C. So which photo do you like best?
Yep, leave us know in the comments below. We had a lot of fun, and we hope that we helped you decide on if you would like to purchase one of these cameras. No.
And maybe if you do have one of these cameras, you can look at that secret little button that goes unobserved on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera and find a use for it.
Yeah.
And if you're out shooting video and that's the only camera you brought, and then suddenly you need to take a photo,
Voila.
you know, maybe knowing about this function is a good thing to have in your back pocket, just in case it's the only camera you have and you need that. Or maybe they turn out so great when you see this video, you maybe want to make it your main photo camera for some things.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be the case, but just like you, we're going to find out. We're doing this video to find out for ourselves, so we'll see what this looks like, and we'll share it with you.
Yep.
So thanks for watching.
Yep. Don't forget to subscribe and come back for more.
Bye.
Bye.